Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Assembled Vaishnava devotees. Devotees, we thank you all for being here, as always. Hare Krishna. So we're going to put the verse on the screen and we start while we wait for His grace. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutirayet Nashta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavate Tamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 21. Swayamtu asamyati sasyatrat yadishaha swarajya lakshmi attasamasta kamaha balim haradbis chira loka palahi kirita kotyedi tapada itaha swayamtu asamyati Prayadishaha Swarajya Lakshmi Atta Samastal Kamaha Balim Harad Chira Loka Palahi Kirita Kotiedita Padapita Swayamtu Asamyati Shayastraya Dishaha Swarajya Lakshmi Apta Samasta Kamaha Balim Harad Chira Loka Palahi Kirita Kotye Idita Padapita. Synonyms. Swayam, himself. To, but. Asamya, unique. Atishaya, greater. Tri Adishaha, Lord of the three. Swarajya, independent supremacy. Lakshmi, fortune. Apta, achieved. Samastakamaha, all desires. Balim, worshiping paraphernalia. Arad bihi, offered by. Chira loka palahi, by the eternal maintenance of the orders of the order of creation. Kirita kotia, millions of helmets. Edita padapitaha, feet honored by prayers. Translation and purport by Jagat Guru Param Guru A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Lord Shri Krishna is the Lord of all kinds of threes, and is independently supreme by achievement of all kinds of fortune. He is worshipped by the eternal maintenance of the creation, who offer him the paraphernalia of worship by touching their millions of helmets to his feet. Purport. Lord Shri Krishna is so mild and merciful, as described in the above verses, and yet he is the Lord of all kinds of threes. He is the supreme Lord of the three worlds. He is the supreme Lord of the three qualities of material nature. And he is the supreme Lord of the three Purushas. That is the Karano Dakashayi Vishnu, Garbo Dakashayi Vishnu, and Kshiro Dakashayi Vishnu. There are innumerable universes, and in each and every universe, there are different manifestations of Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra. Besides that, there is the Shesha Murti, who bears all the universes on his woods. And the Lord Krishna is the Lord of all of them. As the incarnation of man, he is the original source of all manners in innumerable universes. Each universe has manifestations of 504,000 manners. He is the Lord of the three principal potencies, namely Chit Shakti, Maya Shakti, and Tatashta Shakti. And he is the complete master of 6 kinds of fortune: wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Hare Krishna, His Grace Srivas, that's Vanacari. You're very much welcome. So you may continue. If you prefer, if you just want to acquaint yourself, we may start. You may continue from where we were.
Let me just say the prayers, then I will go through the verse and the translation.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Gyana Tamiridasya Gyanan Gyanasana Chakshuramalitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuktapadakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunastam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashri Tatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesa Shunyavadi Pasachade Satarini Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namini Gauratvize Namaha Nityanando Vatutendur Vasuda Pranavalabha Janavir Jivita Patir Krishna Prema Prabhu Padmavati Sutta Srimam Sachirananda Purvajaha Mavam Mata Jagatrakta Rakta Gora Kelevaraha Advaitam Harinadvaita Racharyam Bhakti Shamshanat Bhaktavataram Itam Shamarveta Acharya Ashraye Panchatattamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajagraye Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopita Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Sratau Pango Mama Mandir Gatima Sarvaswa Padambujo Radha Mandana Mohano Nivya Vrindaranya Kalpadurmanda Srimat Radnat Garasimhastanastau Srila Govinda Devo Christiali Bir Sevya Manos Smarami Srimam Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivata Tatasti Takarsan Venusranai Gopi Gopinata Sri Estunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutedevi Pranamami Hari Priye Devi Krishna Mai Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarvam Lakshmi Mai Sarvam Kanti Samohini Paraha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'll just read the verse one more time. It's Sanskrit and the translation. Then before we begin the class. So the verse says, Swayam tu asamyati sayastri adishaha Swarajya Lakshmi apta samasta kamaha Balim haradmir chiraloka palai Krita koti edita padapitaha. The translation says, Lord Sri Krishna, who is the Lord of all kinds of threes and is independently supreme by achievement of all kinds of fortune. He is worshipped by the eternal maintainers of the creation who offer him the paraphernalia of worship by touching their millions of helmets to his feet. So Sahadev Prabhu has already read the purport. So we'll proceed with the lecture. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam lagayete grim yarkari patamahan vande Shri Guru Dina Taranam Paramanam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I'm sorry, I actually did not finish reading through though. I read it to some point.
Oh, you didn't read the whole purport?
I didn't.
Okay, so let me read the whole purport.
Yeah.
Then you did. So the purport says, Lord Sri Krishna is so mild and merciful as described in the above verse, and yet he is the Lord of all kinds of threes. He is the supreme Lord of the three worlds, the three qualities of material nature, the three Purushas, Karanadakashai, Garbhodakashai, and Shirodakashai Vishnu. There are innumerable universes, and in each and every universe there are different manifestations of Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra. Besides that, there is the Seshamurti who bears all the universes on his head. And Lord Krishna is the Lord of all of them. As the incarnation of Manu is the original source of all Manus in innumerable universes. Each universe has a manifestations of 504,000 Manus. He is the Lord of the three principal potencies, namely Chit Shakti, Maya Shakti, and Tatastha Shakti. And he is complete. He is the complete master of 6 kinds of fortune: wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. There is none who can excel him in any matter of enjoyment, and certainly there is no one greater than him. No one is equal to or greater than him. It is the duty of everyone, whoever and wherever one may be, to surrender completely unto him. It is not wonderful, therefore, that all the transcendental controllers surrender to him and make all offerings of worship. Ukam karoti vachalam pangum lagayete grim. Yat kripatama hadvande Shri Guru Dina Taranam. Paramanam Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Akanda Mandalakaram Vyaptaina Characharam. Tatpadam Dashitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So everyone is welcome to today's discussion on the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Canto 3, Chapter 2, the remembrance of Lord Krishna, the status quo remembrance of Lord Krishna. So we need the mercy of all the assembly of Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis so that we can say something for our own purification and probably for the benefit of the audience. So in this verse, Shukadeva Goswami is saying, Lord Sri Krishna is the Lord of all kinds of threes and is independently supreme by achievement of all kinds of fortune. He is worshipped by the eternal maintainers of the creation who offer him the paraphernalia of worship by touching the millions of helmets to his feet. So in the verse, it is mentioned apta samasta kamaha. Ata samasta kamaha. Krishna is fully satisfied and does not require anything from anybody. That is something we have to meditate upon. Krishna is described as Atakarma. He is self-satisfied. He doesn't need anything outside of himself. Everything is within him. Therefore, that makes him the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead must be apta karma. The Supreme Personality of Godhead must be able to fulfill his own desires. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead is depending on someone else or depending on something else, then that something else or someone else is superior to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, but in this verse, it is clearly said, apta samasta karmaha. He is fully satisfied and he does not require anything from anybody. And that makes him the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tasya Sriyas Tri Jagato Janako Janayaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the father of the three worlds. He is the bosom of the creation. Mother Lakshmi is residing on the chest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The goddess of fortune that everybody wants to worship, everybody is approaching for uplands. She is simply rendering service for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Her only desire is to make sure that Krishna is satisfied. So if the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, is a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lakshmi Devi is a menial servant. He is massaging the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's attending to the needs of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And of course, Lakshmi Devi, she needs blessings from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, why is she rendering some service? She wants the Supreme Lord to be happy with her. She wants the Supreme Lord to benedict her. Of course, she's already benedicted. That is why she's occupying such an important position. So, but if Lakshmi Devi has become a menial servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we have to understand that Krishna is supreme. Nothing is equal to him. No one is equal to him, and no one is greater than him. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami mentions in the Adi Lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Devi Krishna Mayi Prokta Radhika Paradevataha Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarvam Kanti Samohini Paraha. It says Srimati Radharani, who is the transcendental counterpart of Krishna, who is the Ladini Shakti, the pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord. She is the central figure of all the goddesses of fortune. From Srimati Radharani, all the goddesses of fortune have come about. Therefore, she possesses all the attractiveness that attracts the all-attractive personality of Godhead. So, the transcendental goddess, the chief of all goddesses, the origin of all goddesses, is actually the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that means Krishna does not need anything outside. Krishna can fulfill his own desires. Krishna can fulfill his own aspirations. Krishna can achieve whatever he wants to achieve without any help from anybody. This is the position of Krishna. Therefore, the demigods are offering prayers. It says, Namostu tasma upashanta shaktaye swarajya labda paripurna tatmane guneshu maya rachitesu vritibir nasajana maya nabaswat otaye. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is completely free from endeavor, completely satisfied by his own achievements. He is not attached to the activities of the material world. Indeed, in performing his pastimes in this material world, he is just like an unattached air. He is completely unattached. So Krishna's activities are not motivated by some material desire. Just like the living entities in this material world, we are always motivated. Whatever we are doing, there's always a motivation. Either motivation for enjoying the result, motivation for getting some fame, getting some name, motivation for different purposes. But the Lord, he does not do any of these things with a motivation. And that is the difference between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is his supreme perfection. The supreme perfection of the Supreme Lord is that he manifests everything automatically without an effort and without a personal motivation. On the part of the living entities, it is said that the living entities, they have the tendency to consider their intelligence perfect. Actually, every living entity thinks his intelligence is perfect. He has the best intelligence, and whatever he's thinking is right. That is the conditioning of the material world. But if you talk of perfect intelligence, it is found in the Lord. If you talk of the perfection of everything is found in Krishna. Perfection of life, perfection of intelligence, perfection of performance, perfection of dancing, perfection of speaking, perfection of anything, we can find it in Krishna. But the living entity, especially the living entities in the material world, we always consider our intelligence as perfect. But how we utilize our intelligence shows whether it is perfection or not, whether it is actually perfect or not. For instance, it is said that when a living entity prays to, when a living entity wants a good wife, he uses his intelligence to worship Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. When a living entity wants a good husband, a good wife, he engages his intelligence in worshiping Uma in order to get a good husband or to get a good wife. When a living entity wants to increase his knowledge, he wants to become as good as Brahma, he engages in the worship of Saraswati, the wife of Brahma. And when a living entity wants to become as opulent as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity resort to worshiping, he uses his intelligence to worship Lakshmi Devi, the consort of Vishnu. So this is said to be a misplaced intelligence. Worshipping Uma for a nice husband, a nice wife. Worshipping Saraswati for improved intelligence. Or worshipping Lakshmi in order to become opulent like Vishnu. The scripture says these are misplaced intelligence. Because all of these things are temporary. All of these things will not bring permanent happiness. It will not bring permanent life. So therefore, it's considered misplaced intelligence. The Lord does not utilize his intelligence for temporary situations. Of course, we know that because of the living entity wanting to be away from Krishna, Krishna makes available the material world. But it is for the interest or in the interest of the living entity. The Lord himself does not need anything from the material energy. Maya Shakti. Krishna has nothing to derive from Maya Shakti, but he has to make Maya Shakti manifest so that the living entities who want to be away from Krishna, they can exercise that right to be away from Krishna. Therefore, it is said there is a great difference between Krishna and the living entities. There's a big difference. Jiva Iswara Tattva Kabu Nahesh Samaha Jwalar Agni Rashi Yache Suplin Giraganaha. The living entity and the absolute personality of Godhead are never to be considered on the same platform. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the whole, he's a complete whole. And the living entity is just but a fragment. It's a fragment. As Krishna says, Mama ivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. He said, all living entities are my parts and parcels. They are parts and parcels. They are not a complete whole. But Krishna is a complete whole. He is Om It's completely perfect, completely complete. Therefore, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all others are his servants. But even though the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the master of all living entities, he is very much kind. He is very much inclined to the living entities. He wants to see to their comfort. He wants to see to their happiness. So Prabhupada mentions in the purport, Lord Sri Krishna is so mild and merciful. He's so mild and merciful. Krishna is so merciful that he becomes a servant of his devotees. Krishna is so merciful, he takes a subordinate position to his devotees. Even though he's a Lord of the threes, he's a Lord of all opulences, all the other expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead depends on Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. Yet Krishna, he is so merciful and so considerate that he accepts to become the servant of his devotees. Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Ekale Ishwaraha Aditya Nanda Manja Rasika Sekaraha. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Ekale Ishwaraha. Ekale Ishwaraha means that he is the only Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eka. Eka means one. He's the only Ekale. He's the only Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no one equal to him, and no one is greater than him. He is a reservoir of all pleasure. All pleasure is coming from Krishna. He's a reservoir of all pleasure. He's the ocean of all mercy. He's the ocean of all strength. He's the ocean of all intelligence. He's the ocean of all wealth. He's the ocean of everything. Everything is coming from him. Aham sarvasya prabhavo, mata sarvam pravartate. Everything is coming from Krishna. Both the spiritual and the material wealth manifestations, they are coming from Krishna. Yet, this Supreme Personality of Godhead, this extraordinary personality, he becomes subservient to his devotees. So it is said, Advitiya Nandatmanja Rashikara Shekara. Advitiya Nandatmanja Rasikara Shekara. So even though he's the Supreme Lord, even though he's the Supreme Controller, even though everything emanates from him, even though everyone depends on him, but Krishna accepts to become the son of his devotee. He becomes the son of Nanda Maharaj. Nandat Manja. Nanda Manja means he becomes the son of Nanda Maharaj. That is his mercy. As the Prabhupada mentioned here, Lord Krishna is so mild and so merciful. That is his mercy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so merciful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was so mild. Mahaprabhu loved his devotees. Mahaprabhu served his devotees. Mahaprabhu was very attached to his devotees. Haridas Thakur was living at the Siddha Bakula tree. He was living under the Siddha Bakula tree. And every blessed day, without fail, so long as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Puri, he would visit Haridas Thakur. And he would bring Mahaprasad from the Jagannath temple, because Haridas Thakur had taken his birth from a Muslim family. The traditions and customs of Jagannath temple does not allow him to enter there. And so Haridas Thakur never entered the Jagannath temple. He stayed at under the Siddha Bakul tree, and he would just look at the chakra of Jagannath temple and chant. And because he was such a wonderful devotee, such a sincere devotee, such an exalted devotee, it is said that Lord Jagannath will come out of the temple and sit on top of the chakra and give darshan to Haridas Thakur. Anytime Haridas Thakur will look at the chakra, he will see Lord Jagannath. So the Lord is so merciful that he does anything and everything for the satisfaction of his devotees. So Jagannath was giving Haridas Thakur his darshan on daily basis. That is Daru Brahman. There were two Brahmans in Puri. There was Daru Brahman, the Lord in the form of wood, and there was a moving Brahman, Jagama Brahman, the moving Brahman, and that is Lord Chaitanya. So both of them were giving their darshan to Haridas Thakur every day. Lord Jagannath would appear on the chakra, Haridas would take darshan of him, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will come to see Haridas and offer him Mahaprasad from Jagannath temple. So Prabhupada is mentioning here that the Lord is so merciful. So merciful. In fact, Krishna has nothing to do with the material world. He has nothing to do with the material world. He is a resident of the spiritual sky. He is the cynosure, the center of attraction of the spiritual sky. He is the jewel of all the living entities in the spiritual sky. Yet, Krishna comes down into the material world. What is Krishna looking for in the material world? What is Krishna's business in the material world? Krishna's business is the devotee. Bhakta Anugraha. Bhakta Anugraha. Out of his causeless mercy, out of his compassion for his Bhakta, Bhakta Anugraha. Manushim Deha Astitaha. Krishna comes into the material world simply out of his causeless mercy for his devotees. He wants to come to the material world. He wants the devotees to see him. He wants the devotees to worship him. He wants the devotees to associate with him. He wants the devotees to hear about him. He wants the devotees to get acquainted with him. out of his costless mercy that the Lord comes. So Krishna Janmashtami simply means Krishna's mercy. Krishna descends for the pleasure of his devotees. So even though Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and even though he's the origin of everything else, but Krishna, he takes a subordinate position just for the pleasure of his devotees. And so Prabhupada mentions that he's most merciful. He is so merciful. And then it is also mentioned that the Lord is the supreme Lord of the three worlds, is the supreme Lord of the three qualities of material nature, is the supreme Lord of the three Purushas, Karanandakashaya Vishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Shirodakashaya Vishnu. Actually, we can see that the Lord expands into threes. We have the three wells, we have the three gunas, we have the three Vishnus, the three energies. So we Krishna is described here as the Lord of the threes. Even in this world, we have the Rakshasas, we have the Asuras, and we have the Suras. The Rakshasas are manifested from the mode of ignorance. The Asuras are manifested from the mode of passion. And the Suras are manifested from the mode of goodness. So the three modes of material nature also give rise to all kinds of threes. Due to the effect of the three modes of material nature, we have the three types of food: in a mode of goodness, in a mode of passion, in a mode of ignorance. We have the type of sacrifices: in a mode of goodness, in a mode of passion, in a mode of ignorance. We have austerities. We have knowledge. Everything in the material world is in this categorized situation. So Krishna is called the Lord of the threes. So even the Manus that are said to be the lawgivers of the universes, they all take their inspiration from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Manus, they are the fathers of mankind. They are Prajapatis. They are manifested by the Lord. They also take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada mentions that there are 504,000 Manus in each universe. We cannot calculate the universes. Therefore, we cannot calculate the number of manus. In our small universe here, 504 manus manifest in the life of Brahma. And all these manus, they take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even though they spring from Brahma's chest, Brahma's arms, but actually that is the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma manifests them under the authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, it is mentioned that in every yuga, the Lord manifests in different living entities for the benefit of the material creation. He manifests as Sanaka to preach transcendental knowledge. He manifests as Jagyavalkya to teach the way of karma. He assumes the form of the great yogis such as Dattatreya to teach the system of mystic yoga. So for the benefit of all human beings, the Lord incarnates in different forms, like the Manus, like Dattatreya, like Sanaka, Sanatan, like Yagyavalkya. So all these is out of the merciful inclination towards a living entity that these things are made to manifest so that we can gradually make progress towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna is the source of everything, is the source of the spiritual energy, is the source of the material energy, and is also the source of the marginal energy, tatastha. So in this way, Krishna is showing his mercy. But Srila Prabhupada writes that the ultimate goal is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It says, it's a duty of everyone, whoever and wherever one may be, to surrender completely unto him. It is not wonderful, therefore, that all the transcendental controllers, they surrender to him and make all offerings of worship. So Krishna, out of his merciful nature, merciful inclination towards a living entity, he gives us unlimited opportunities in the material world. So therefore, it has become our duty to reciprocate with the Lord by surrendering unto him. In a conversation with Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, Lord Chaitanya says, Bhakti Vina Krishna Kabu Nahe Premodaya. Prema Vina Krishna Prapti Anya Haite Naya. That unless one discharges devotional service, it is very difficult for one to awaken his love for Krishna. And if there is no awakening of love, how can one attain the spiritual sky? Because all the living entities that are in the spiritual sky, they are natural lovers of Krishna. So therefore, awakening our love for Krishna is crucial. And that can only come about when we accept it as a duty to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, when they met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the first time in Ramakeli, they requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to accept them as his menial servants. They approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with a lump of grass in their mouths. Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, they fetch bunch of grass and put it between their lips, and they were paying obeisance to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at a distance, and they were offering prayers. Bhavatam ivanucharam nirantaraha prashanta niheshisha mano ratanaha kadaham ankantika nitya kinkaraha praha saishami sanatana jivitam. These wonderful devotees, Rupa and Sanatana, they are telling Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that please accept us as your devotees, accept us as your servants, engage us in your service. Because by serving you constantly, we can be free from all material desires. Then we can become pacified. Our minds become pacified. Our hearts will become pacified. And then when we have pacified minds and pacified hearts, then we can now become your eternal servants. So long as our minds are still absorbed in the external energy, the external world, it is not possible for us to become your servants. So please, our dear Lord, kindly accept us as your servants and engage us in your service. And by your association, we can become, our minds, our hearts can become pacified. So the process of Krishna consciousness is actually meant to pacify our minds and pacify our hearts. When the mind is pacified, when the mind is no more attracted to the external world, when the mind is no more drawn to its objects, the objects of the senses, then the mind is pacified. And when the mind is pacified, then we can hear properly about Krishna. We can glorify the Lord nicely. Krishna is described as Suchi Sravaha. Suchi Sravaha. Suchi Srava means the Lord purifies the devotee simply by the devotee hearing the glories of the Lord. When the devotee is inclined to hearing about the Supreme Lord, the Lord enters the mind, it enters the heart, and purifies that place. When Vanacari, who later became Valmiki, became an exalted personality, we all know the story of Valmiki. He was born as Vanacari, but he got lost in the forest and was found by some hunter. And the hunter trained him up. Obviously, having had the association of a hunter, he also became a hunter. And so he learned how to kill animals with the arrows, with the bow and arrows. And then later he got married to a hunter's daughter and begot many children. So the hunting wasn't sufficient to maintain the family. So Vanacari, using his weapons, he became a dacoit, he became an armed robber. He was robbing people who were passing through the forest to holy places in order to earn more income to take care of his family. But one day, as fortune would have it, he saw a saintly man in saffron cloth with his tambora, his drum under his armpit, singing the glories of Narayan. And Vanacari was thinking, this saintly man is hiding something inside a drum. So that's why he's playing this trick. But I will seize the drum from him. I will kill him and take the drum from him. I will open the drum, and whatever valuable things he has in that drum, I will take it and enjoy with my family. So he approached Narada Muni and accosted him and said, you are a pretender. You have something inside that drum. You are pretending to be singing, but actually I want that drum. Give it to me or I'll kill you. And Narada Muni, being fearless, because self-realized person is not afraid of death, he said, my dear Vanacari, why are you doing this business of killing people? What do you want? Now you are killing people. I said, yes, I'm a family man. I must maintain my family. I have a wife and children. It's my duty to maintain them. So I have to do this. And Narada said, do you know all these things you are doing? There is so much sin involved, killing people, killing pilgrims who are on their way to holy places. You are killing them and taking their property. Do you know how much sin is involved? I said, well, whether there is sin or there is no sin, I am simply sharing the results in my family. So I believe if there is sin, we shall all share the results. And Narada said, you have mistaken. You are mistaken. Have you asked your family members whether they are ready to share the sins with you? He said, I've not asked them. He said, go and ask them and come back. And Vanacari said, this gentleman wants to play a game on me. He said I should go and ask my family so that by the time I come, he's gone with the hidden gift in his drum. So Narada could understand him. He said, if you don't trust that I will wait for you, you can tie me against a tree and go and come back. So some acharyas say Vanacari tied Narada to a tree so that he will not run away. But some acharyas say that when Narada spoke like this, he was convinced that Narada would not leave him. So he went and met his family and he asked his family, do you know the business I'm doing to bring food to the table? They said, well, we don't know. He said, I am a robber. I rob and bring it. They said, well, that's your job. We are your family members and your duty is to maintain us. So whatever way you bring your income or food, we just accept, we share with you. It's your duty. Then Vanacari said that, you know that there is sin involved? He said, yes. Whatever you do, there is always some reaction. So are you ready to share the sin with me? The children said, no, Daddy. We didn't ask you to go and kill people. We didn't ask you to go and cause harm. So the reaction is yours. So he was surprised to hear this from his children. He went to the wife. My dear wife, do you know how I'm bringing food to the house? I rob people, and sometimes I kill them. The wife said, well, I'm not aware of that, but anyway, that is your job. You're supposed to bring us some food. So whether you rob, whether you kill, you are doing your duty. You must bring food. And Vanacari said, well, do you know that there is some reaction involved? There's some sin involved. He said, well, anything we do in this world, there's always some reaction. So I said, are you prepared to share the sins with me? And the wife said, no. You didn't tell me you're going to rob. I didn't ask you to go and rob. You did it on your own. Now, why do you want to share the results with me? I'm not going to be party to the reaction. It is you. You have to carry it. So Vanacari realized that even though he's killing people, robbing people to bring income home, but the consequences, the reaction is on his head. So instantly, he decided to go back and seek the advice of Narada. So Narada gave him a mantra to chant, but he was so sinful that he cannot chant the mantra. So Narada said, all right, if you can't chant the mantra, then you chant Maram, Maram, Maram. By chanting this Maram, 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 it ended up as Rama, Rama, Rama. And just by chanting this Rama, 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 Vanacari became so purified, he became so elevated. He was sitting in one place, just chanting, absorbed, meditating, completely in trance, that termites, ants, they built their house over his body. And he was still sitting there meditating. And that is how he got the name Valmiki. Valmiki means an anthill, someone who is covered by an anthill. So Parvati saw how Valmiki had become transformed, originally as Vanacari, a sinful man, who could not even chant the names of the Lord properly. But by Narada's trick, he gave me the name Marama, Marama, Marama. He ended up chanting Rama, Rama, Rama. He was so purified. He was so exalted. So Parvati asked Lord Shiva, my dear husband, something is bewildering me. This Vanacari, he was so sinful that everybody feared him. And now he's chanting something which is not even a proper mantra. But now I can see that he has become so exalted. He's so exalted that people are now worshiping him. How is that? And Lord Shiva said that the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, is called Srivas. Srivas. Anyone who hears his glories, anyone who chants his glories, anyone who associates with his glories. Krishna purifies the heart. Krishna purifies the mind. Krishna makes the person a devotee. So by chanting that maram, 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 or marama, 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 he ended up chanting Rama, Rama, Rama. And that has purified his existence. So therefore, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami says, Tattva Vastu Krishna, Krishna Bhakti Prema Rupa, Nama Sankirtana Sabi Ananda Sarupa. The absolute truth is Sri Krishna. Loving devotion to Sri Krishna, exhibited in pure love, is achieved through the chanting, the congregational chanting of his holy name, which is the essence of bliss. And anyone who takes to the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, guaranteed, Krishna will purify his mind. Krishna will purify his heart. Suchi Srava. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his main reason for coming into this world is to make the holy name available. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna Bhavamritahiyaha, Aswadyan Swadhyayam Bhaktam Prema Diksham Ashikshayat. Mahaprabhu's purpose of coming into this world is to taste the nectar of Krishna's holy names. His first business is to experience the nectar, to relish the nectar of Krishna's holy names. And the next one is to instruct his devotees, to initiate his devotees into the practice of chanting Krishna's names. And anyone who follows Mahaprabhu's order, Mahaprabhu's instruction, chanting Krishna's names every day, Krishna is Suchi Srava. One's mind, one's heart will be purified, and very soon one will begin to experience the pleasure, the bliss of devotional service. That is the mercy of Krishna. That is the mercy of Mahaprabhu. Krishna is so merciful that even though he has nothing to do with the material world, he descends into the material world just to give mercy to the living entities who are rotting away in the material world, the Nitya Badas, who have forgotten Krishna entirely. That is Krishna's mercy. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is extremely merciful. Mukam avatayet shrutin. Swakripa aham vande. Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram. Krishna is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so merciful, is so kind, that even the most fallen person, the most unqualified person, can still become elevated. He can become a devotee he can become a lover of God simply by accepting the holy names of Krishna. So that is the wonderful opportunity Srila Prabhupada has given to all of us. Srila Prabhupada has made us fortunate by spreading the holy name throughout the world so that everyone can benefit. And so we are grateful to Srila Prabhupada. We are grateful to the previous acharyas. We are grateful to the Panchatattva. We are grateful to the two lords, Nityananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for descending into this material world to dissipate the darkness of ignorance by giving us the holy name. Vande Sri Chaitanya Nityanando Sahodito Gaudadaye Pushavanto Chitrasando Tamonundo. The two lords, Nityananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are like the sun and the moon. They have descended into this material world, manifesting on the horizon of Gaudadesh in Mayapur, just to dissipate the darkness of ignorance that has covered everyone's intelligence, covers everyone's mind, covers everyone's heart. And by offering the holy name to everyone, and this holy name is as bright as the noon sun, and anyone who takes shelter of this holy name and chants it all the time will become purified. So, as Prabhupada concluded the purport, he said, it's the duty of everyone, wherever and wherever one may be, to surrender completely unto him. Therefore, it is not wonderful that all the transcendental controllers, they surrender to him and make all offerings of worship. The duty of every living entity to surrender to the all-merciful Lord and make all offerings of worship to the Supreme Lord. And this will bring us great fortune. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such wonderful delivery of Krishna Katha. Of course, as always. And dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, realizations, you may want to ask or share, you use the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or share. His Grace Ganga Prashad Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Ganga Prasad. I'm happy to see
Ganga
Ganga's Prasad.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Nice to have your presence again today.
Hare Krishna.
And the presentation are so deep and touching, and it's like a clarion call, wake up call.
Hare
We have
Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, please go ahead.
I find something very striking. It is not like an accident, but then I want you to help expand on this. In the beginning of the purport, he said, Lord Krishna is described in the above verse, and yet is the Lord of all kind of trees, all kind of trees, and he didn't limit it to one tree. In contemporary theology of Christianity, they mention Trinity.
That's right.
Here is just unlimitedly three.
Yeah.
So I want you to help just zoom on this and then shun this nectar of trees.
Well, there are many places the Prabhupada talks about Krishna as a Lord of threes, many, many verses. So, one may say that why is the number limited? Why the Lord of threes? Say, for instance, we hear the verse Vidaiva Suryate from the Upanishads that the Lord has unlimited energies. He has unlimited energies, uncountable energies. But then the energies are categorized into three. The spiritual energy, or then we have the material energy, then we have the tatastha energy, marginal energy. So it means the figure 3 is of great significance to Krishna. Otherwise, why is Prabhupada saying the Lord of threes? And even though the Lord has unlimited energies, we can count all of them. In fact, it is said that in the spiritual sky, the personifications of the energies, Bhu Shakti, all the different Shaktis, they are there serving the Lord. Innumerable Shaktis. Still, it is said that these energies are classified under 3 headings. And so Prabhupada is highlighting the fact that the number 3 is of importance. So we have the 3 energies, we have the 3 modes, we have the 3 wells, we have the 3 Vishnus, and I think that is because this figure 3 is important. That brings the issue of the 3 Vishnus. Karana Dakashai Vishnu, Garbhodakashai Vishnu, and
Shirodakashai.
Shirodakashai Vishnu. In fact, before the Vishnus, I mean these 3 Vishnus, there are other Vishnus, but the issue of the 3 does not come there. Like Balaram expands into the Chatuvyuha, and then each Chatuvyuha manifests into another Chatuvyuha. But when it comes to the material creation, then we have Karana Dakashai Vishnu, Garbhodakashai Vishnu, Shinodakashai Vishnu. Of course, it does not limit itself to the material world. The energies of the Lord are also classified under 3 headings, major headings. So I would say that the figure 3 is of great importance to the Lord. And so in the Christian theology, they picked out that that 3 figure as the God of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which in our parlance simply means the God the Son is the spiritual master. God the Father is Krishna himself. And the Holy Spirit can be compared to the Paramatma feature or the Brahma Jyoti. But the figure 3 is of great importance to Krishna. And that is why his energies are classified under 3 headings, not 4, not 5, but 3 headings. And then when it comes to the material creation, the 3 Vishnus are also prominent. So this is what I can say for now. Though I'm also thinking there must be more references. There must be more references why the 3. Maybe some acharyas may give more explanation, more elucidation on the figure 3, why the 3 is important in our theology. Because there are so many other numbers, so many other figures, but here Prabhupada is again and again saying the Lord of 3s. And he has mentioned the different 3s. So we can see the number 3 pervades the creation. The number 3, we can see many things manifesting in 3s. So the number 3 is of great importance to Krishna, and that is an area we should look into. Why this number 3 is important to Krishna. Because if anybody has information concerning why number 3 is important to Krishna, he can share. Knowledge is not meant for one person.
I like that.
Yes. Knowledge is for everybody. So if somebody has that information, please share. We would like to learn also. Why the number 3? Why Krishna? Why this 3? When there are so many figures, why the 3 is very important like this? Otherwise, I would suggest we make some little research.
Thank you.
And then come back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm just captivated by that application.
Okay.
And it just resonates with me. Why the 3?
Yeah.
And then he started explaining 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. And it makes some significant impact. Yes,
Yeah.
but I like to lean on your existing suggestion. Yes, it calls for research.
Yeah.
And I think one of your last lectures I attended also, you also sounded on this note. There's a need to do more research.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
There's a need. The acharyas have given us volumes upon volumes. The only thing is that we are not studying them very seriously. And so our knowledge is limited. But the books are there. we just have to study them, and then we will know. So for me, anything I don't understand, I blame myself that I've not done enough reading. I've not done enough research. So I have a book. Anything I come across I don't understand, I write it down and I begin to search for it. Unfortunately, I had some Acharya's books. I have this Vedic encyclopedia. There is nothing you cannot find in that Vedic encyclopedia. But my computer crashed and I lost it. So I'm still struggling. I got it from one Russian devotee, so I'm begging him if he can arrange for it. It was such a useful, anything you want, you get it from the Vedic encyclopedia. Then there are also books by Baladev Vidyabhushan. There are some books by some other acharyas. They also got the Vedanta Sutras and so many other things. With their commentaries, you can find so many information. So, but I lost all those books because my computer crashed. And now I am trying to recover those books, e-books from these devotees. Russian devotees, they have a lot of these things. So if I get them, I can share with all of you who want to do research.
Thank you. I'm grateful. Thank you for the darshan. Thank you for the information. And thank you for the assignment of research also.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I'm also going to research anyway. So if I find it first, I'll reach out to you. And if you find it, also reach out to me.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sang over the 3 words.
Hare Krishna.
We didn't hear what you said, Ganga Prasha Prabhu.
I said, may his fame be sung all over the 3 worlds.
Oh, okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you, Prabhuji. I have one quick question. I have quite a number of questions, of course, but I'll go with this one first. In this material world, we have rulers.
Okay.
We have heads of states. We have presidents of different countries.
Yeah.
And it will be very much unheard of if a president of a particular country cares only about part of the country and it does not care about other part of the country. So in your delivery, you said it like 2-3 times, not less than 3 times, that Krishna has nothing to do with the material world.
That is true.
In the Brahma Samhita, Srila Prabhupada reading the purport, Srila Prabhupada reads that this material world is also part of God's kingdom.
That's right.
So if this material world is part of God's kingdom, and we are hearing that Krishna has nothing to do with this material world, doesn't that make Krishna an unqualified controller?
Well, that is not the case.
Or say partial controller?
No. Krishna is in the supreme controller. And but what I mean by that is Krishna is relishing such spiritual bliss from the service of his pure devotees in the spiritual world. So what can he get from conditioned souls in the material world who have forgotten him? In the spiritual world, everyone is hankering to serve the Lord. Everyone is hankering for his association. Everyone wants to be in the presence of the Lord. And there is such sweet exchange between the Lord and his devotees in the spiritual sky. Such things do not happen in the material world. So therefore, the Lord coming into the material world, we must understand that he's just coming out of the causeless mercy to give the living entities an opportunity to make advancement. In fact, Brahma also, in Brahma's prayers, I think one of his prayers, he says, my dear Lord, now you have no business with this material. Well, actually, I think I took that statement from Brahma's prayers in the 10th canto, verse 10th canto, chapter 14. Chapter 14, Brahma is praying like that. Yeah, is in 10:14:37. Prapachanamnis prampo chopi vidambaya se bhutale prapana jatananda sandoham prantitum prabhu. Say, my dear master, although you have nothing to do with material existence, you come to this earth and imitate material life just to expand the varieties of ecstatic enjoyment for your surrendered souls or surrendered devotees. That's Lord Brahma's prayer. Lord Brahma is saying you have nothing to do with this material existence. There's nothing to do with it. But still he comes just in the interest of his devotees. So the material world, actually, when Prabhupada said the material world is part of the kingdom of God, it is true. Because the material world is a small place within the spiritual world. The Mahatattva, the material sky, is just a small area which is within the material, within the spiritual sky. When Arjuna and Krishna going to Mahavishnu Loka to retrieve the Brahmana's son, when they came out of the covering of the universe, everywhere was the Brahmajyoti, everywhere was bright. So that means the universe is surrounded by the Brahmajyoti. And that means the universe is in the spiritual sky. But because of the thick covering of the universe, very thick covering of the universe, we cannot even perceive what is going on beyond the universe. So this spiritual sky is where the Lord is relishing his relationship with his devotees. And so he's absorbing that. Yet he comes to the material world. Why does he come? Just to increase the pleasure of the devotees. Just to give us the opportunity to go back home, back to Godhead. Just to revive our Krishna consciousness. Just to show himself, I am the Supreme Lord. Just to give us a chance to know who is a worshipable deity. So Krishna is coming, his only interest is to connect with the devotees. Otherwise, he doesn't have anything to gain from Maya. Maya is for the conditioned souls. Maya is not even for the liberated souls. Maya is not for the liberated souls. Maya is for the conditioned souls. So if Krishna comes into the material world, he's not coming to enjoy Maya. He's coming to liberate his devotees, to give facility to the devotees. And therefore, when we say he has nothing to do with material world, it simply means that he doesn't come like a conditioned soul who has an agenda to exploit Maya, to exploit material energy. So, and because the material creation is just a tiny spot within the spiritual sky. Actually, we are surrounded by the spiritual sky, but the covering of the universe is so thick that we cannot perceive the spiritual sky, even though we are surrounded on all sides by the spiritual sky. But the thickness of the material universe is so heavy that we cannot easily penetrate that thick covering. We cannot understand that we are within the spiritual sky until we are liberated, until we get out of this thick covering of the universe. So simultaneously, yes, the material creation is within the spiritual sky, which is the kingdom of God. It's just a tiny corner. Prabhupada says, the material sky, material manifestation, Mahatattva, is just a small, tiny corner of the spiritual world. But it has such an arrangement that the living entities who are within the material creation, they have no access to the spiritual sky, even though the spiritual sky surrounds the material creation. I don't know whether that gives some explanation why.
Yes, yes, it does. But at the same time, if Krishna does not come here because this world is full of Nitya Bhadas, and Krishna only shows his mercy to his devotees. And we're hearing that Krishna, the main reason why Krishna comes into this world is to give pleasure to his devotees. So how does the whole world filled with Nitya Bhadas? Now all of a sudden there are amazing devotees of Krishna that is compelling Krishna to come into this material world. So it appears contradictory, even though I know there are no contradictions, but if the whole material creation is for Nitya Bhadas, and Krishna is very much concerned about his devotees, which are the Nitya Siddhas, then why would he come into this material world which is filled of Nitya Bhadas?
Your query is right. If the understanding is that the material world is for Nitya Bhadas, and then it says that Krishna comes into the material world for the pleasure of devotees, how is that? So, in a conversation between Bahula Swa and Narada Muni, Narada Muni visited Bahula Swa, the king of Mithila, in the days of Krishna. And there was a very beautiful conversation between Narada Muni and Bahula Swa. So Bahula Swa was asking Narada Muni that why does the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternal, whose body is transcendental, why does he appear in the material world? Yo nadir adna purusho bhagavan prakrite paraha kasmat tanu samadata tamme bruhi mahamathe. Why is this the beginningless Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond material creation, whose form is always transcendental? Why does he come into the material creation? So Narada Muni, he answered Mahula Swaprit. He said, Go sadhu devata vipra vedinam rakshanai vai tanam date hari shakshat Bhagavan Adma Leelaya. Bhagavan Adma Leelaya. He says the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he comes into the material world, Go sadhu devata vipra. Go means cows, sadhu means devotees, devata means demigods, and vipra means brahmanas. So the Lord comes into the material world to protect the cows, to protect the sadhus, to protect the demigods. And also it says, Vedinam Rakshanai. Vedinam Rakshanai Vai. To also to protect the Vedas. So, even though the material world is a place for the Nitya Badas, but there are also devotees of the Lord who are campaigning on behalf of the Lord. In other words, some Nitya Siddhas have been sent into the material world by the Lord to campaign, to guide, to inspire, to encourage the Nitya Badas so that they can change their vision. So for such devotees that have been delegated, they're delegated by the Lord to come into the material world to do his preaching work, the Lord has to come. The demigods, they are also described as devotees, but they are Sakama devotees. We have Akama devotees, Akinchana devotees, Akinchana Bhaktas, and we have Sakama devotees. They are devotees, they recognize the position of the Lord, but they also want to enjoy some material facilities. So they are mixed devotees. But the Lord is coming because of the cows, because of the sadhus, because of the devatas, and because of the brahmanas. So that is why he's coming. Because these personalities are within the material creation. Because the devotees, empowered personalities are sent to the material world to campaign, to propagate Krishna consciousness. They are devotees. Even though they're in the material world, they are pure devotees, and they are also making others pure. They are increasing the family of devotees, and therefore the Lord comes to take care of those whom he has sent down to spread his glories, and those who have been converted by accepting the authority of those sent down. So yes, this is a material world, but there are delegated personalities in the material world who work on behalf of the Lord. Like even Brahma. Brahma is such a devotee. Even though he's also considered a Nitya Bada, but he has excelled. He has excelled in his service, and so now he is put in charge of the universe. So if Brahma is having some problem, the Lord has to come. The Devatas, they are also empowered servants of the Lord. If they are having some trouble, the Lord has to come. The sages, the rishis, they are also acting on behalf of the Supreme Lord, and so if they are having some trouble, the Lord has to come. So all of these categories of devotees the Lord comes to deliver them from the wicked hands of the Asuras, the demons. Paritana ayasaduna, Vinasa ayacha duskritam, Krishna says, I come purposely to give pleasure to my devotees, to deliver my devotees, and to annihilate the demons. So that is Krishna's wish, to protect his devotees and to eliminate the demons. So the material world is a place of conditioning, but even among the conditioned souls, there are devotees, there are elevated souls. And so because of those elevated souls, Krishna comes. So
Thank you
in
too
the,
much.
in the material world, there are liberated souls also.
Mm.
Only in the spiritual world, there are no conditioned souls. But in the material world, there are both liberated souls and conditioned souls.
Mm.
Because the liberated souls, they have been sent by Krishna, and so they're here to help others become liberated. And they also increase their number by their preaching, increase their number by their association. And so it's a campaign. They are campaigning on behalf of the Lord. And so if they run into any difficulty, Krishna has to come and deliver them. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Very satisfying. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very much satisfying. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Chakra Prabhu.
I think my question, Prabhu, Dandava Pranam, all glory to you, all glory to
And
you.
I will
dear,
not pronounce all glory to Krishna, Gurudev, Krishna Prabhupada, and all the wonderful Vaishnavas.
Yeah, but actually, it's like that day was in my mind. The question I was about to ask that we asked, but I have a follow-up question.
All right, go ahead.
My question is like that Dave said, how can someone claim to be the controller of Ghana and say that Kumasi he has nothing to do with Kumasi? It's practical, it's impossible. Then
Yeah.
secondly, if Krishna really doesn't like, if we say Krishna has nothing to do with the material world, when he wanted to taste the love of Radharani, such as that, how is it that Radharani lost me so much? Now I want to experience it myself. He chose to come here to experience it.
Yes.
Which means there is a purpose. There is some serious purpose here.
Well, yes, because the devotees are practicing Krishna consciousness here, that creates the purpose. And also, I think I want to say that actually, when we say Krishna has no business here, means that Krishna does not actually come to the material world for material pleasure. I think that should be clear, because we can see that Krishna has a business. The business of accompanying the living entity cannot be ruled out. So long as the living entity is within material creation, Krishna is accompanying him as super soul. So Krishna has a business here, but the business is transcendental business. It is not material business. So long as the living entity is in the material creation, Krishna is with the living entity, trying to give him guidance, trying to give him counsel, trying to guide him so that he can return to the spiritual world. So Krishna's real business is to take the living entity back home, back to Godhead. And for that purpose, Krishna accompanies us from time immemorial. But Krishna's business is not to enjoy the material modes, enjoy the material world. So that's why the Upanishad says there are two birds in a tree. One bird is enjoying the fruits of the tree, and the other bird is just simply watching, he's just observing, he's just witnessing. So Krishna, his business in the material world is to ensure that a living entity returns home. So he comes as super soul, he comes as guru, he comes as sadhu, he comes as siksha, he comes in different forms just to elevate the living entity. But he doesn't come to exploit material nature. Krishna doesn't do that. So when we say Krishna has no business in the material world, the reference is specifically applies to the fact that Krishna does not come to enjoy matter. He comes to interact with his devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, in other words, it's like the class 1 teacher in the class 1 room.
Yeah.
That we can say he has no business there.
That's
because
right.
he doesn't go there to learn the class 1 stuff.
That's right.
But
he's in the classroom to
yeah,
teach.
and teach the people how to get out of it.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's a good analogy. The class 1 teacher, he knows 1 + 1. So actually, he has no business in that classroom. He's not going to be a student in that classroom, but he's there to teach. He's there to guide. He's there to advise, to help the children grow up. And if he doesn't go there, how will they also learn? So the super soul must be here in all his multi-forms. It says Krishna manifests as the super soul. He manifests as a devotee. He manifests as the holy name. He manifests in various forms just for the benefit of the living entity. And so Krishna manifests in 6 forms in the material world just for the benefit of the living entity.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dr. Hassan, are you still here? We're sorry.
Somebody's hand is up there.
There's a bit of a jump.
Yes, I'm still here.
Go ahead.
My question will be a little bit longer if it's okay for Maharaj.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes, Maharaj. Please kindly accept my humble respectful essences.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be here because I find myself in a place which I have no network and I really wanted to be here. So Krishna, I didn't heard all the classes, but Krishna was able to make me to come here. Please accept my humble respectful essences. All glory to Gurudev, all glory to Prabhupada, and all glory to the assembled devotees. Maharaj, I have this personal question. Yesterday when I saw the fly, I was thinking, oh, this is a good time to have Maharaj because he can help me to understand this.
Okay.
So the question is, I have this brother, not a real brother, but he's more like my brother, and we grew up together.
He's a brother.
Yes, he's a brother. Yeah, he's a very, 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 very good person. This particular person is, since infancy, when I'm down, he was the one who brought me, who encouraged me, you know.
Okay.
So in 2017, when we started follow Jana, His Grace Jana Chachus Das.
Yeah.
He first came home to Ghana, and after 2 weeks when I came, so he first met Prabhu Jan before I met Prabhu Jan.
Okay.
And so afterwards, I started follow Krishna consciousness.
Mm.
And when we came to Ghana at that time, he asked me to accompany him to Togo. Okay. I think Srivas is here, so you know where I'm talking about, in the northern part of Togo, Buffalo, which is his wife's village.
Okay.
So he wanted to do some project there. And so we went together. He wanted to buy some land and do cashew business. Okay. So when we went there, the Muslims over there, they came to us and make a pledge to us that their mosque is very, very, very small, because sometimes on Friday they do like 3 players because other people have to wait. So they plead with us that if we can help them to build a mosque. And Maharaj, this my brother, he take this burden on him. And he said that I'm going to build this mosque. So what happened is that when we come back we were in Germany.
Okay.
And he started building this mosque. After he built the mosque and he sent me the picture, I cried so much, because the mosque this guy built is so big and so beautiful from his own money.
Wow.
So few time later, he beginning to feel sick. And they has to rush him to Germany. When they brought him to Germany, he has some problem in the stomach. And as I'm talking to you now, half of his stomach is artificial. They do 7 operations on him, and at the point his body was not responding to medicine, medical, nothing. So the doctor said that in 45 minutes they have to remove everything from him, the machines and everything from him. So his wife told the doctors that they have to give her 5 minutes with the husband. And according to my brother, he said that the wife prayed for just 15 minutes and begged God to bring his husband back. And 15 minutes time, everything started functioning again. And the doctors came and they're asking, what did you do? Everybody was surprised, because it's something which is impossible. And that particular moment, he said one of the nurse, he said that he want to worship the God they are worshiping. So the nurse converted to Islam. But according to him, the cause of his illness is because of the Muslims over there. They said that he has taken the glory from them. Like, how can a small boy like you have to come and build this kind of mosque? And so what is going through, according to him, is because of the mosque he built. And recently we spoke again, and he said that they have discovered another tumor inside him. We are not so close like we used to be before, because when I started follow devotional service, he was kind of, I take you to Jana for answers, but I didn't tell you to become a devotee. So, so it becomes some argument between.
You are smarter than him.
So it becomes some kind of argument. So we are not so close because of my devotional service. And I make it clear to him that what I have seen, I don't think I can move away from, I can stop Krishna devotional service, because this is what gives me happiness. Maharaj, my question is, in Islam, if you build a mosque, or if you dig a well, or if you plant a tree, they said that this blessings or benediction will follow you even when you are dead. When you die, these benefactions will follow you. And it is said that Krishna sometimes tests his devotees, because at this particular moment, he has become more Muslim. Every time we are speaking with him, he said a lot of things about God, how you have to give yourself to God, how to like become more God consciousness and everything. He has become more God consciousness than before. So Maharaj, in this situation, is it Krishna is testing him, or is his karma? Because I begin to ask myself, how can somebody do something like this and he has to suffer this way?
Well,
if Krishna protects his devotees, how can he go through all this is going through. So I'm beginning to think that, so is this a test from Krishna or is it his karma? This is my question, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your question. It's an interesting question. I will say that there are a lot of things in play. There are a lot of factors that are taking place in this particular incident. Because not only in Islam, also in Krishna consciousness, Krishna is also glorified building a temple for him, offering him land, offering him a city, marketplaces, farmland. Krishna also glorified those activities in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna says, anyone who builds a temple for me, anyone who buys land for me, anyone who offers me cities, marketplaces, farmlands, where fruit trees can be grown and offered to me, flowers can be grown and offered to me. Krishna says, any person who does this, I will provide a place for him in the spiritual sky. So it means it's pleasing to Krishna to do these things. So the question is, if it is pleasing to Krishna, then why does the person suffer? Why does your friend suffer after doing such a marvelous service? And that is where some issues have to be considered. Yes, sometimes Krishna, his mercy cannot be understood. The mercy of the Lord is not easily conceived, is not easily understood. But Krishna knows why he had to subject this person to these experiences. He understands that taking him through this trouble, it will change his mentality, it will humble him, it will make him much more devotional. If Krishna sees that this is the way to help you become more spiritual, then Krishna will administer that method. So, yes, it's possible that Krishna is actually rewarding him for that special service by putting him through this difficulty. But that difficulty is making him to remember God. We can also say that, as you already said, maybe the Muslims were envious of him. Now, how can this small boy come and build such a gigantic grandeur mosque for us? And we are the elders, we don't have such a facility. We cannot afford such a facility. We couldn't do such a thing. And this little boy has come to do something. So they may want to punish him, they may want to disturb him. That is also there. So that is why I said there are many factors that come into play in this circumstance. But ultimately, Krishna's hand is supreme. Wherever situations are happening, Krishna sanctions it. Krishna permits it for a superior reason, for a higher reason. And that higher reason is how your friend has become more and more God conscious. So we can see, because Krishna says nothing happens without his permission. Not even a blade of grass can move without Krishna's sanction. So whatever is happening to him, Krishna's hand is inside. And the amazing part is that his consciousness has changed. He's appreciating the benefits, the advancement, the realizations. He's getting through the sickness. Krishna's mercy can be quoted. It may come in a form of suffering. It may come in a form of disaster. It may come in the form of problems. But beyond that, the mercy flows. Actually, in the 10th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna mentions how he gives his mercy by taking away the wealth of a devotee. And when we talk about wealth, it could be physical wealth, it could be mental wealth, it could be health situation, whatever situation Krishna wants, Krishna makes that arrangement, but for the benefit of the devotee. There's a verse, I can't find it immediately, but Krishna is talking about that when I want to favor a devotee, I take away all his facilities. I make him poor. And his family members, they abandon him. And then, Yashyaham anugraham. Yashyaham anugrinami. Harishe taddanam shanai. Tato danam tyajante asya swajana dukinam. Krishna says, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. Then the relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. So this wealth that is being talked about here does not just mean financial wealth. There are many aspects of wealth. Health is wealth. Finance is wealth. Knowledge is wealth. There are many aspects of wealth. And Krishna can take any of these away from the living entity in order to help him become more surrendered, in order to humble him, in order to make him a better devotee. So, since you said your friend has become much more devoted to Islam, much more God conscious, then it means that Krishna's hand is there. There may be some external factors, there may be some external situations, but ultimately, Krishna's hand is there for the benefit of this devotee. Is that okay, Dr. Hassan?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much for the wonderful answer. So, Maharaj, what is the difference between test and karma? How can you differentiate that? If Krishna is testing you or is karma? Yes, please.
Yeah, it's difficult to determine for a neophyte devotee, for a beginner in Krishna consciousness, It's difficult to say which is test and which is karma. But for a devotee who is making advancement in Krishna consciousness, he can know when he does something which is not in line with Krishna consciousness, some reaction comes. And so the devotee can say, yes, because I did not do things right. That's why I'm getting this reaction.
Okay, thank you so much.
But
Thank you so
but
much.
if the devotee does everything right and still there is a reaction, he understands that Krishna is testing him. Krishna is just bringing those things before him to see how he's going to react. So, but for a neophyte devotee, it's difficult for him to know when is Krishna testing me and when is my karma mature. It's difficult. But for an advanced devotee, he knows that he has done certain things which are not correct. And so Krishna is chastising him for that. And so that is what we call karma. But he also knows when Krishna is testing him, he also knows.
Yes, thank you so much, Maharaj. Because with this question I asked, this situation, this is most of the time which comes to my mind, that is Krishna testing him or is this karma? So I think I'm satisfied with the answer. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Well, thank you. For which I know it's a time is fast spent, but there are two hands. Actually three. Madhuvan Prabhu, can you please unmute?
Yes, I can.
Yeah,
Hare
please,
Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Madhuvan Prabhu. Nice to see you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. All glories unto your little feet.
All
Thank
glories
you
to
very much.
Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada. So how are you doing?
Yeah,
In
I'm feeling fine,
Oyo?
Prabhu. Ibadan.
In Ibadan, I know. Yeah.
Okay, Oyo State. Yeah,
Oyo
correct.
State, yes. Yes.
Thanks for still remembering us, Prabhu.
Well,
I'm very happy.
Ibadan, I can't forget Ibadan because
Thank you.
it gave me the opportunity to preach. You know, where at the temple was just opposite the University of Ibadan, UI.
Ibadan. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so Krishna just brought me there at that time to preach at the University of Ibadan, and we made a lot of devotees from there. So it was the beginning of my preaching life. Actually, I started preaching in Ibadan. When I was in Lagos, I was just of course, I was not preaching in the shop, but I was just preaching to a certain class of people. But in Ibadan, we had to preach to students, we had to preach to lecturers, professors, we had to preach to all kinds of academia. And so it actually helped us to grow in our study of the scriptures and in presenting the scriptures to such a plethora of academicians. So my preaching life began in Ibadan, so I can't forget.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Maybe immediately you left Ibadan because I met Prabhu Baraha. That's when I started coming.
Yeah, Varaha Prabhu took over from me. Yes.
Oh, wonderful. It was a very wonderful time. I was fantastic, and I love everything about Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
So, thank you, Prabhu. Just one or two things I want to chip in, Prabhu. The time we are asking the purpose why Krishna has to come, I think in the Bhagavad Gita 4:7, Krishna make a categorical statement of why he has to come. When he said,
Yeah. Yeah.
So he monitors the situation, religiosity. So, and whenever there's a decline, then he defends to reestablish principle for religion and also the transcendental knowledge. You know.
Yeah.
So the other thing I want to mention is from when you answered the last question. What I now believe is that Krishna is only interested in our spiritual life. And when he now sees that there are a lot of distraction, this material things that we so much cherish, even our body, our health, and all those things. So we should always remember that we are not this body, we are spirit souls. So whatever happens to our body is Krishna's arrangement so that we are detached from thinking of the body. Because when this also happens to our Maharaj, Krishna Pad, like Krishna Pad, we are all baffled why he has to be sick, why he has to be this, why he has to be that.
Yeah.
But we have to come to the realization that Krishna is only interested in our spiritual life, and we are not this body. So that's just my little realization. I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a fact that the whatever happens, it points to the fact. I also remember even one time, I think it also happened in Ibadan. We had a first death of a devotee in a movement in West Africa, in Ibadan. When Paramatma Prabhu, our cook, experienced cook, he died in a car accident. We were running a restaurant because of the students and the lecturers who were coming for Prashadam at the temple. We started running a restaurant in Ibadan. We had to bring Paramatma from Lagos to run the restaurant. And then once a week, they used to go to, is it mile 12? The Boga market, I think mile 12, Ketu. So they went to buy the Boga. And on their way back, they had an accident. And Paramatma Prabhu died in the accident. Jyoti was in that accident. Guru Das was in that accident. And driver was in that accident. But only Paramatma, he left his body because he was trying to jump out of the car. The car fell on him. He died. So when this happened, it was a it was a first experience. I think that was 85, yes. It was a big experience, shocking experience for all the devotees. We didn't have a proper understanding of the philosophy. We are just practicing Krishna consciousness for 3 or 4 years at the time. So we are not properly deep in the philosophy. So many devotees were very disturbed. Then why should Krishna allow this devotee to die in accident? So I had to call Gurudev up because people were bombarding me with these questions. And I myself, I was bewildered. I couldn't answer the questions properly. So I called Gurudev up. I said, Guru Maharaj, because of this devotee's death, many devotees are wondering, where was Krishna when this accident happened? Then these devotees, they went to mile 12 to buy boga for a restaurant, for Krishna's restaurant, for preaching. So why did Krishna allow them to have an accident and this devotee died? I mean, the whole restaurant business closed. So Gurudev said that we are looking at Krishna, or we are looking at the situation from a materialistic point of view. But Krishna sees the bigger picture. Our vision is so small. We are just seeing in relationship to the body. But Krishna sees beyond the body. So he said that actually Krishna had protected Paramatma's Prabhu's devotional service. He said when Krishna says he's going to protect, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to protect the body. He said sometimes Krishna may protect the body of a devotee so that he can still use it to serve. But it doesn't mean that every time Krishna is going to protect the body. Sometimes Krishna protects the devotional service of the devotee. And that is even superior, that is better than protecting the body, because the body will perish at all costs. You may protect it today, but tomorrow you cannot protect it. Then he explained. He said Paramatma, when he came his last visit to Ibadan, Paramatma had approached Guru Maharaj. Now he wanted to marry a second wife. And Guru Maharaj said no. So Paramatma was thinking of leaving devotional service to marry a second wife. And Krishna arrested him. Guru Maharaj explained this to me, that this is a situation. So Krishna has saved Paramatma's devotional service. But for us, because of our limited vision, we are thinking, where is Krishna? Why does Krishna allow this accident to happen? And then our chief cook, he died in the accident. We couldn't understand it. But when I spoke to Guru Maharaj, he explained this to me. So the next morning, I explained to devotees that actually Paramatma's death is Krishna's mercy on him, because he was planning to give up devotional service just because he wanted to marry a second wife. But Krishna did not want him to give up devotional service. So Krishna changed the body, because the body is causing the problem. So Krishna changed his body for him. So from our perspective, we're thinking, oh, this is too much. But from Krishna's perspective, it was normal.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Jai. So I think 2 more hands before we close.
Yeah, 2 more. I don't think we can go more than 2. We have to give a little break to Prabhuji. We'll go to His Grace Ganga Prashad Prabhu and Prabhu
Govinda
Govinda
Prabhu.
will be the last. Ganga Prashad Prabhu, you may unmute, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
I actually don't have a question, but little contribution.
Great,
And
great.
first, I have to appreciate this very question and answer at the end. It's very thoughtful, and it gives insight into what our realization should be. And Prabhu Hassan, I am sure you have been helped by the answer given to you, because like Madhuvan Prabhu asks now, we can see that the hand of Krishna is in everything. Well, my first contribution was for the Krishna has no business in the material world. And I just wanted to chip in the aspect of our philosophy that is Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. Krishna is simultaneously having no business here, and he has business also.
Okay.
And
all right.
if we can digest that, then it will be easy to consume the pill. And then the second one is that in the material world, Krishna does a lot of delegated participation.
Yeah,
he
that's
delegates everything in the material world. So his energy is at work. All the ingredients of material world is from him, but it delegates it. He's more actively involved in the spiritual world.
Right,
so it's not that he's not here, he's here. And there's an analogy that Prabhupada gives in one of his purport when he talks about the king and the magistrate. They are not there on their own, but they are representing the king.
Yeah.
So whatever they do is the king's orchestration. So whatever happens in the material world is Krishna's orchestration. Even seemingly it looks like he's not physically here. And then your answer that he does not come here to exploit the material resources like the living entities do. That's the contribution I want to make. But I'm very grateful for this last question of Prabhu Hassan. Everybody, I'm sure, will gain from it, because sometimes we are beclouded. Oh, why should bad things happen to good people?
Good people. It's true.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Ganga Prashad Prabhu. Govinda Prabhu, please give me a unmute.
The last question, Govinda Prabhu, you conclude the class.
Yes.
Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances.
Jai, all
glory
glories to
to
Bhakti Tita
all
Swami
glory to
Maharaj,
you,
all
all
glories to
glory to
Prabhupada,
Dave,
all glories to all the wonderful Vaishnavas present here.
glory to all the wonderful Vaishnavas. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. Actually, you don't have time, but I have two questions. If I can make it very
All
brief.
right. Yeah, make
Yeah.
it. We'll join them together.
Yes, yes. Okay, so the first question will be constructing the temple for Krishna. You know, Krishna word never go in vain.
Yeah.
So he told Arjuna, declared boldly that my devotee shall never perish.
Yeah.
So whatever he has said must come to pass.
Mm.
So you were just talking about the benefit or the merit of one constructing a temple, purchasing a land, planting a tree, things of this nature. Is it automatic that one build a temple for Krishna and that Krishna promised that that person will be in my kingdom? That person may not be a devotee. He may not be following any rules or regulations. He may have the money and he feel, okay, let me just do some good thing for the Lord. And he may build a temple. Either a devotee, a Christian, Muslim, or whoever, he built a temple for the Lord. He's not a staunch devotee. He's not following any rules or regulations. So what would be a situation of a person like that when he passes away, since Krishna's word does not go in vain?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the question. The fact is, once that service is executed, Krishna will make the necessary arrangement for the salvation or the deliverance of the devotee. Now, the devotee may not immediately go back home back to Godhead, but the fact that he has done something very, very outstanding in a form of building a church, temple, synagogue, or whatever, providing land for the worship of the Lord, planting trees, or doing something for Krishna, the credit is eternal. Based on that credit, Krishna will facilitate such a devotee. And ultimately, the devotee goes back home. Say, as you just said, somebody may not even be a devotee of any caliber, but just by spending his money to buy some land and build a temple, Krishna will make sure that in his next life, he will associate with devotees because he has earned a credit, which is called Bhakti Yumukha. There's Bhakti Yumukha Sukriti. When you do something that earns you the opportunity to render devotional service, it's called Bhakti Yumukha Sukriti. So when you execute any of these activities, providing land for a temple to be built, building a temple, planting trees, fruit trees for Krishna, to be offered to Krishna. If you do any of these activities, Krishna says, I will cause your liberation. I will provide a place for you in my own kingdom. It may not happen immediately, but ultimately it will happen because Krishna will arrange for the purification of that soul that will enable him to enter the spiritual world. That would make him eligible to enter the spiritual world. So in the next life, he might not take birth in the spiritual sky, but he might take birth in the family of devotees, and from there his spiritual path begins. But ultimately, the ultimate thing is Krishna would direct such a person, he would facilitate such a person, and he would end up entering the spiritual sky. So it means Krishna's words never fail, but it's a matter of time.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, if you allow me, please, a quick comment.
Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
Yeah, so just my obeisances that first, otherwise the Prabhupada. What you just said now, I was expecting to hear that in your answer to Dr. Asan.
okay.
That the guy in question is actually going through purification for what he has done. And you just said it, you just said it now, that Krishna was in some purification. So Dr. Asan's friend or brother is certainly going through purification. Krishna caused illness or whatever to prevent him from committing more sins or eating more meat or things like that, so that he can facilitate his going back to Godhead. So thank you. I mean, you just said it. I was expecting that, and now you just said it.
Okay, all right.
Hare Krishna.
Jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dear devotees, we thank you all, and most importantly, we thank our revered speaker, His Grace Srivas Vanacari, our mentor, for spending this length of time with us and this depth of knowledge, which is saturated with so much sweetness. And on this note, we're going to humbly request devotees kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker. Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Rama Rama, Hare
Shakalman
Hare
Hare Kripa Sindhi
Prabhupada ki.
Yeah.